What's going on, people? We just finished up all the different parts of the research that we have to do. We're literally almost at the end of the first week. We finished the validation. We finished what we have to do with the validation. We did it for the different industries that we're going to do. So let's just do a very quick recap before we actually start working on what we have to do today, which is going to be the offer. Okay. So first, we started off by doing industry research for AI automation, right? This is just basically what kind of industry do we want to even start looking at in the first place. We did that by looking at who needs us the most. We looked at digital versus brick and mortar. We looked at the complexity of how easy versus how hard it is to basically start off wherever you're starting right now selling AI systems. We broke down the difference of where you need to look at based on what stage you are in the entire business process. So once we went through those, we realized that if you're starting right now and you're wanting to get into AI automation business, brick and mortar is going to be the winner right here. The reasons why is because you are going to have an easier barrier of entry starting in AI business compared to larger corporations and specific digital businesses right now. And we talked about the fact that established ones are mostly older generation folks, meaning there's going to be lacking of not just general technology, but AI specifically, right? They are AI lacking. And the third reason is because you have easier access to decision makers. There's less climbing up of that ladder there is to do for you guys. Whereas if it's a little bit of a bigger company, more established company, you're going to have more climbing to do of that corporate ladder to get to the people you actually need to talk to. So those were the three, main reasons why we wanted to start off with brick and mortar business. And if you want to understand how we got to those in more detail, you can go watch it all. It's probably in day one or day two, right? So after we finished up this research, we ended up on two different industries. Those two different industries ended up being the home service industry and the auto service industries. And here is the reasons why we chose each, right? So first, we're going to read through this home service industry first. The reason why we chose them is because there's a lot of urgent or same day demand because things are breaking, right? And a lot of times when things break, the first thing people are going to do are they're going to pick up the phone and they're going to try to call these businesses. We also found out that calls spike during outside business hours, meaning when the company shut down, things just don't magically not break. They don't just stop breaking. So they still going to continue to break. And with that being said, that means there's a lot of missed calls that happen during that time period. And obviously missed calls means there's missed jobs. And that's just money that they basically left on the table. We also found that customers are not forgiving in this world. What does that mean? It means if you don't pick up, if the company does not pick up, they are going to call the next company because they have urgent or same day demand for whatever is broken, for whatever is happening in their house. And companies are usually feeling this pain consistently during either their busy hours or their after hours, which means that the return on investment for them is extremely easy because one or two saved jobs covers the fees that they have to pay, and everything after that is literally just revenue that goes right back to their business. Now, for the auto service industry, the reasons we found here is that they were bombarded by multitasking. Obviously, these are physical shops. They have a lot of in-person stuff they need to do. They get a lot of repetitive inquiries, right? People are always asking questions, and a lot of them are repetitive. And for these kinds of jobs that are in this industry, in-person visits are prioritized because they're a physical shop. If you're getting inbound phone calls, those are not really your biggest focus, right? You're trying to move through everybody that's there at the physical shop, and the shop is busy because it's going to have people in it. Phone calls in this situation could be interpreted as interruptions to their normal flow, especially if the kind of phone call is not actually revenue generating. It could be common questions. It could be people price shopping. It could be so many different things. Companies are going to usually feel this pain again during their peak business hours because if they have a lot of people lined up in the store, they have 2 or 3 people there, there's a lot of calls coming in. These people are either multitasking and they're being bombarded, meaning everything is going to be slowed down. Their life's going to be made harder. And a lot of this is Q&As, scheduling, customer information gathering, which is called intake, and follow-up notifications. These 4 things are going to be the biggest time and revenue killers that these guys have to deal with over the phone. And in some cases, if you miss urgent calls, you miss revenue directly. This applies to towing. Now, fast forward to today, and what we're doing today is we're basically going to be creating our offer, right? We're going to do it for the home service industry first, specifically the plumbing that we chose to go with. And the reason why we chose plumbing, if you've been watching the video, you know exactly why. And you guys can see right here, all I did was organize the information that we found, and I listed it here in just an easier way for us to look at and look through because we're going to have to use this information today. The goal for today is to create our offer in the most appealing way that we can. But in order for us to do that, it means we have to dive deep into offer creation itself and all the details about what makes an offer good. Now we're at the most important parts. This is literally the hook that we're going to throw out into the world, into the water that we are fishing in. This is the thing that is on the hook that's going to make the fish come to us, to our hook, right? So that way we can actually reel them in. And just like in fishing, the most desirable thing, which is whatever is on the hook, and just like in fishing, whatever is on the hook is the most desirable thing to the fish. The more it's needed, the higher chance you're actually gonna have at reeling in the bigger fish. Now, I'm using this analogy to explain this to you guys because it makes things a little bit easier to understand, right? This is literally one of the best methods. I'm gonna explain this to you guys so that way you can at least dive into it from a perspective of something that's a little bit relatable. So right now, we just did all of that research, right? We pulled in all of these different pain points. We pulled in all these different symptoms. We learned a lot about what makes these industries tick. So what that means is now our job is to figure out the best way to put together these ingredients together to basically make the most appealing hook possible for the fish that's in the sea, which obviously is going to be the sea of business, right? It's all the fucking businesses out there that we're trying to get to. So all of these different businesses are the fishes in our example. And just like in real fishing, some fish are going to be big, aka big ass businesses, and some fish are going to be small businesses. What we're going to do right now is we're looking at all of these different ingredients that we put together, and we're going to lay them out on a whiteboard or a table in this example, and we're going to be thinking to ourselves, what is the best combination that we can put together of all these different ingredients that'll give us the most appealing hook, right? The most appealing offer that we can throw out into the world and be able to reel in the fishes, buddy. Let me see the emo. Let me see the emo. Hit the reel in it. Hit the reel in it, bro. Hit the reel in. Hit the reel in, boy. Let me see it. Let me see you reel the fishes. Let me see you reel the fishes, bro. Let me see you reel the fishes, buddy. We're reeling a whole lot of fish today, boy. Whatever's on the hook is gonna be literally the thing that businesses want. This is the thing that's going to make businesses want to buy stuff from us. That's the most valuable piece that we're throwing out into the world because that's how we're gonna be able to get the attention of all these different fishes that are out there in the market. So I'm going to show you guys right now how to actually create all of this stuff. We're going to create the hook. We're going to create the offer. But before I do that, I just want to talk about what the hell makes an offer good. Okay. If you don't understand this, you're not going to be able to do it properly. So I'm going to ask you a very, very simple question. What makes an offer good, right? Let's just say, for example, right, you just got done running 3 miles and you are thirsty as shit. You are very thirsty. You have a strong need in this moment for something to help you stop being thirsty. Therefore, you being thirsty is a pain point, okay? The symptom of that pain point is the emotional feeling behind your thirst. It's not the thirst itself. It's the feeling that you get from the thirst. It is the mental and emotional toll that is held on your body by the symptom of being thirsty. So that's the underlying driver for why you want to stop being thirsty in that moment. It's because you want to stop feeling that emotion. You want to stop having that mental heaviness of the thirst itself. So if you think about it, when you're in that mode of just trying to get out of that feeling, the absolute best thing that you can hear from somebody that's talking to you is not only that they have what you need, but that they can make you stop feeling the way you're feeling right now, which is the thing you absolutely hate the most when you're feeling it. And not only that, they can do it in a very short amount of time. For example, in the next 10 seconds, in the next 15 seconds. And on top of that, they can also guarantee you that they can do that for you. When you're in that thirsty mode, that it's literally the best promise that somebody can make to you in that moment that's going to benefit both you and them. So the reason I'm saying this is I want you guys to understand this concept. The best offer, and I'm going to say this twice so you can fucking digest it. The best offer possible that you can make to somebody is not just targeting a pain point, okay? They don't only just target the pain point. The best offers target the underlying emotions, the underlying feeling, the symptom, the actual outcome behind the pain point. That's what makes really good offers actually good. So when you think about it, when you're in that mode of just trying to get rid of a feeling, the best thing that you can actually hear from somebody is not only that they have what you want, it's that they can make you stop feeling that way that you're feeling right now, which is the thing you hate, by the way. And not only that, they can do it in a very short amount of time. For example, in the next like 10 seconds, in the next 15 seconds. And on top of that, they can guarantee that they can do that for you. I want you to understand this fucking concept. It's very, very important. The best offers don't just target the pain point of something. They don't even focus on the product. They don't even focus on the service. They focus on the underlying emotions, the underlying feeling, the symptoms, the actual outcome that's behind these pain points, that's behind the thing that is happening, which makes people feel some type of way. It is directed at emotion and an outcome of what would happen when that feeling is gone. Think about it like this. It's like walking into a Lamborghini dealership, okay? And the salesman can tell you all this information about the car. He can tell you it's a twin turbo. He can tell you it's a V12. He can tell you it's a carbon fiber. All these different features and specs. But really, nothing is going to hit harder than the salesman painting an image in your head of what your life would look like when you buy that Lamborghini. For example, it might be networking opportunities, right? People coming up to you and wanting to have conversations with you with interest in people. It might even be girls, right? I mean, to be honest, like cars don't even get girls, they get more guys than girls. But it's a dream, right? It's an idea. They're gonna tell you, hey, you're gonna get so many more girls if you get this car. They already sold you on a dream and a feeling and let you imagine it in your head before they sold you on a product. And when they do that, you are going to sell yourself in your mind on that product. Once the sales guy plants that seed in your head, I want you guys to really understand this. The deeper focus behind very good offers is, once again, not the product or the service itself. It's the emotional factor under it. It's the fact that they can make you think you're going to feel something or experience something that you otherwise would not have without this product or service. So now that we have this mental foundation, that is a core, right? Now we have to think about, how do we make this core stronger? So how do we actually make this stronger? Think about it, right? There's usually two concerns that almost all people are going to be either thinking about or asking about before they buy a product or service. I'm going to draw them out right here. The first one is its actual effectiveness. Okay, this is its quality. How does this thing actually work? Does it actually do what we think it's going to do? And the second thing is the time that it takes for them to experience what they're trying to experience with it. So because these two are right there behind the actual core of the offer, the best possible scenario you can paint for somebody is to maximize the effectiveness and to minimize the time around it. So what this looks like in practice, the best way I can let somebody know the effectiveness of my product or service is maximized to them would mean I would have to attach a guarantee behind it, okay? Because when you attach a guarantee, that means literally by definition, you are maximizing the effectiveness and the quality around what you're trying to deliver, what you're trying to sell. And if you look at the complete opposite end of this spectrum right here, where the effectiveness is like minimized, that would be somebody telling you, I can't guarantee this is going to work. Now you're thinking in your head, well, he doesn't guarantee this is going to work. Can't guarantee it's going to do what it needs to do. It's almost like the person that's telling you about the product or service doesn't even believe in their own product or service, because they're literally telling you, I cannot guarantee this is going to do anything. That is the worst possible scenario you can have in this spectrum right here. And so obviously the most logical opposite of that is to do a guarantee. So these just led us to the other two cores behind this. Obviously the number one core is focusing on the emotional feeling / experience / the outcome of the product. And the number two core of a great offer is being able to guarantee something. Maybe it's not absolutely everything that the product or service can do, but at least some tiny aspect of it should be guaranteed at some point, because that shows you have confidence. That shows you have an understanding of the thing you're trying to sell. That shows you are trying to maximize quality and its effectiveness. And the third core of a very good offer is minimizing the amount of time by providing a time expectation of something they can look at and be comfortable with and like. Because nobody wants to spend a tremendous amount of time on something, and at the same time, nobody wants to not know how much time something is going to take. And so the fact that you're even mentioning any amount of time for them in the first place is great, because it gives people a timeline in their head, and people don't like feeling lost. People don't like the unknown. People hate not knowing time expectations. And when you start including timelines, you start painting almost like a roadmap and an expectation in somebody's mind for the offer that you're trying to give them. So let's put this in a very, very super quick example, right? Let's actually put this into practice. What is something we can say that's going to incorporate all of these three cores? Let's go ahead and come up with a problem first, right? Let's just say the gym. Let's say I'm super, super overweight. That means my pain point, right? My pain point is going to be overweight. So the symptoms of this problem could be multiple different things, okay? It could be out of breath. It could be no energy. It could be can't fit into clothes. It could be all these different feelings and emotions that are tied to the pain point of being overweight. And when you have a situation when there's multiple symptoms tied to a pain point, you compare them to each other and then you see which one, if it was fixed, would be the absolute best scenario outcome for the person that it's fixed for. So right now we have out of breath, we have no energy, we have cannot fit into clothes, and then I feel like there's like one that's just the most obvious one, which is having a fit dream body physique, which by the way, this directly correlates to an underlying feeling around it, which is going to be confidence. Now, out of breath directly correlates to an underlying thing, which is going to be health, physical health. No energy directly correlates to an underlying thing, which is laziness. And then if you cannot fit into clothes, that directly ties into an underlying symptom, which is bad physical health. So now look at this. We're looking at 4 different things, okay? We're looking at confidence, we're looking at physical health, we're looking at laziness, and we're looking at bad physical look. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare these to each other, right? And I'm going to say if I were to want to rank these from best to worst, or actually from worst to best, because that's the scale we're going on, like which one is the worst, I would say having no confidence at all is definitely number 1. I would say not fitting into your clothes is number 2. I would say no energy is number 3, and being out of breath is probably number 4 in this ranking. Do you agree with that, Miles? By the way, you guys didn't know, but Miles is a fitness geek. I mean, look at this dude right now eating his proteins with no shirt on, flexing in front of the fucking camera.
They need to get their ass in the gym if they overweight.
And the reason I rank them like this is because think about this, right? If somebody were to get their dream body, the first thing that they would gain is confidence, right? They're going to get all this extra confidence because now they love themselves more. The second thing that they're going to come out of is going to be physical fit physique. Now they're going to be actually fitting into clothes that they want to fit into. And these are just immediate givens that happen as soon as that outcome actually happens, okay? Now, because they have more energy, physical health becomes better. They become less out of breath. Do you see how all of these are literally connected like this? So now the second core means I have to be able to guarantee something. So if I wanted them to subscribe to a personal fitness plan or to the gym, I would say something like, I would guarantee that, and I'm gonna put a blank right here because I want to explain to you guys what goes into this blank. Here, you want to paint a quick mental image of that outcome. So in our example right here, that would be, I guarantee you feel super confident in your clothes and you get so much more done if you join the gym. So look at this example right here, okay? I'm gonna say, I guarantee you get twice as confident and do double the amount of work you're used to doing within 2 weeks if you join our fitness program. And notice what I did here while I'm doing it. I tied all of these together in a way that basically paints the highest, most maximized, effective picture that basically hits all of those major pain points and symptoms around being overweight. And we did it in a single sentence, right? We're directly hitting confidence here. We're directly hitting productivity here by saying double the amount of work you're used to doing. Directly addressing time by saying within 2 weeks. Every part of this sentence is designed to maximize perceived effectiveness, the highest, most effective picture that basically hits the major pain points and symptoms around being overweight. Here we have a guarantee, right? This is the first one of the cores right here. We're saying if you do this, you are going to see or get this. We're hitting productivity. Both of these are this first core right here, right? The emotional experience, right? We're hitting those emotional factors. We're saying you're going to do double the amount of work you're used to doing. That's hitting on laziness. Twice as confident. That's hitting the confidence level. And we're setting a clear expectation around results, which is the third core we talked about, right? This is minimizing time. Notice how the timeline is baked directly into the sentence itself. We're saying within 2 weeks. So just with that, we're giving them a concrete time frame mentally for something to expect within a time frame. They're no longer guessing about that, right? They have some sort of idea that needs to happen within the specific time that we're giving them, assuming that they actually used or applied the thing that we're giving them. So now they're not guessing about that. You're actually giving them a clear time frame. You're giving them a roadmap in their mind about what to expect. This adds certainty, and certainty is what makes people comfortable when making decisions. So now at this point, we have the sentence. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read it from their perspective as somebody that is reading it, right? So if somebody came to me and says, I guarantee you get twice as confident and do double the amount of work you're used to doing within 2 weeks. Somebody says this to me, I'm thinking, well, what if that doesn't happen, right? Obviously, I'm going to have to pay to join this fitness program. But what if whatever you're telling me does not happen? That's when we're going to talk about the fourth core of a very good offer, which is giving people something upfront that is valuable completely for free in order to earn their trust, or giving them back what they're so worried about losing, which is their money. This is a nail in the coffin to what makes an offer very good. You seal it with this nail that says, hey, if whatever I'm offering you, if whatever I'm telling you does not work, I'm willing to give you something that is valuable completely for free, or I will give you back the thing that you gave me. This actually seals the deal in a lot of people's mindsets, because when you're offering something like this, the very most recent next thought that somebody has when they hear something like this, whether they do it consciously or subconsciously, their brain goes to the idea of, I don't have anything to lose. Obviously, we're not talking about time here, right? You're going to spend time, and time you can never get back, but we're talking about anything outside of time, right? They're going to be in the mindset of saying, I have nothing to lose. They're going to say that to themselves. I only have something to gain. Now, somebody ends up reading your message with this mentality as the last thing. That pushes your offer so much further in their brains, because everybody loves free stuff, everybody does not like wasting time, and everybody loves getting the thing that they gave away back at no extra cost. To be honest, now you're probably thinking like, well, I just did all this hard work, and after 2 weeks, they just decided they didn't like the product, they didn't like the service, they didn't like the thing that I wanted. I just gave them all these things for free. That's probably what you guys are thinking right now, and I got nothing back in return. That is a mindset that a lot of people have, and it holds them back so much, because brother, you are not at all differentiating yourself from the next person whatsoever. Think about how many people in the world are doing this. Think about how many businesses are competing against you. Think about how many people are knocking on other businesses' doors. The game is so competitive nowadays. The only way for you to really not only gain the trust and improve yourself, you have to take a step forward on your own and offer something as an initiative. But you have to be in a mentality where either way, whatever happens, you do not lose. You only learn. That's it. You're not losing anything. You think you're losing time. You think you're losing efforts. You have nothing else to do that's better than this. This should be your main effort. This should be how you're spending your time, right? What better way to spend time than to refine the thing that you want to work on? So really, no matter what happens, you win. You either gain experience that makes your next interaction much better, or you end up with a satisfied client. And this is literally, by the way, how I started everything in the beginning. I went to all these different businesses, and I still built things completely for free and installed it in their business literally for weeks without charging anything. The only reason I did that is, one, I would prove myself by, one, putting my foot forward, and two, I ended up gaining their trust and selling things and upselling them down the line tremendously easier. And number three, they got an experience from me. I delivered an experience. That is something that gives somebody value. And if they experience this with me without even having to pay a single cent, that goes a very long way, right? So I delivered that experience to them. I delivered value to them. They got to experience something they like to do from me. So the special part about business really is not just the product or the service itself that you're trying to sell. Literally, the most special part about business is the feelings you're able to deliver to somebody that is experiencing something difficult, and they love the feeling you gave to them because of something you did. That's the heart of literally why anybody buys something from you. It's because you're a person that delivers a feeling. And if you can deliver that feeling, you can go so much farther than any other bullshit tactics, than any other funnel, than any other sales script, than any other thing that you can do. You focusing on delivering an emotional experience, okay? So all these cores right here that we just talked about are at the heart of what makes a very good offer. And so now we just did this like very quickly with the gym example. What we're going to do next is we're going to take a look at all the pain points and symptoms that we pulled, and we're pretty much going to do this. We're going to lay everything out on the whiteboard. We're going to try to figure out what is our offer, right? How are we going to be able to position ourselves? What are we going to say to hit home for all these different things that these people are experiencing? That's what we're going to do next. Now we're going to actually start creating our offer. I'm not going to be the one to do it though. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let Miles drive for everything. I'm going to actually just move the screen, stuff like that, but he's going to tell me everything and what we need to do. We have right here just the example that we just did. We got the 4 core pillars of what makes a very good offer. Here's a quick example of an offer statement. And then here's the example for like being overweight, where we listed the pain points and the symptoms. On the left side, we have all the pain points listed, all the symptoms listed, and the opportunities listed for the home service industry, which in our example was the plumbing. And if we go down here, I listed out ROI. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to let Miles try to cook this up, and every time there's a question or there's something that needs to be made better, I'm going to jump in. But let's go ahead and get started. So let me know what you need to do, Miles. What are we doing?
Yeah, so let's start off with the first question right there. Core number one of a great offer, focus on emotional experience outcome for a plumbing company.
So just to make this a little bit easier on you, Miles, here is basically the goal for what you need to do, right? We have the 4 core components of a good offer. They need to be incorporated. Obviously, this is going to be what makes things work for us in terms of what we're trying to tell people and how we're trying to get to them. The first thing you have to do is we have to clearly list out the symptoms that they feel. Once we do that clearly, we're going to rank the symptom from worst to least worst, okay? And then after this, once you rank these, you're going to tell me basically why you think this is the worst, and we're going to put numbers on them. After that, we're going to create our offer statement. This is going to be external to the world, right? This is what we're promising the world, what we're promising anybody that's looking at our AI system. And obviously, we're going to include the 4 core components into that. And then after this is going to be internal to us. We're going to list the things that we want our voice AI system to actually be able to do, which is going to be its core functionality. This is going to drive us into what we have to do later, which is going to be actually creating the pricing and the packages. And we're going to have to literally define what our system is going to be able to do. But here is your checklist for today. Let's go ahead and start. I'm going to hand it to you and you let me know where you need to go from here.
Yeah, so one symptom that we could list out, who are we necessarily targeting? We're targeting auto.
We're doing this for the home and service industry first, which is what we have listed right here.
Okay. So more plumbers.
Yes, plumbers.
All right. So pain symptom, right? Let's think. Pain symptom that some of these people are probably dealing with. Probably tired of missing calls.
So
or I guess symptoms. Would you convert that? Would you call that like a mood? Confused, angry.
no. So here you have the big pain point. So we actually listed those ahead of time, right? You have the pain point of missing calls in general. The symptom to that is what they feel, which is what they're going to feel is they're going to have lost booked jobs, okay? Because of this, it means that there could be demand, but revenue is not being grabbed the way it needs to be grabbed because they're missing those calls. So this is an example of one of them, right? You have a missed call is the pain point. I'm missing a call. That's a pain. The thing that happens because I miss a call is the symptom, which is the lost booked job. So I actually made this a little bit easier by listing these out ahead of you. All we have to do really is just
all we have to do is just go through and pick through them then.
what we have to do right now, or what you have to do is essentially rank these. So if we look at their list right now, clearly list out the symptoms they feel. We pretty much did this already. So this is like a freebie, right? This is your bingo, okay. your first bingo square checked off. They're already listed. What we have to do next is we have to rank these from worst to least worst, right? What are they feeling the worst and what are they feeling the least worst? For you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different symptoms, okay? I'm going to let you read through those and then let me know which one you think is worst. After that, we're going to put a number 1 on it. Just say this is the worst. And then let me know why do you think it's the worst.
I'll probably put the worst one on lost book jobs.
Which is the first
Caller
one?
hires contractor who answers.
All
yeah.
Right. We're going to throw a number 1 on here. Why is that?
It's because that's where they're going to be losing money from. That's
number 1 point is going to be where they're losing a lot of money from. That's like a super common sense. If you're losing money because you're losing missed calls, that's going to be your number 1. What's your number 2 here?
2 would be not enough jobs to keep the company moving. Because if they're low on jobs, then all of these other ones aren't really.
Where's that one at?
Right, look down. Go down.
So tell me, why is this number 2 for?
It's because they wouldn't be able to keep the company going if they didn't have the amount of jobs that they're looking to get.
Okay. Read this. Is this business slow all year round or is it specific season?
Could be specific season.
It is a specific season. And we found that specifically from the validation that we were doing, where a bunch of them were agreeing that it slows down specifically from December to February. So if we're looking at a month, all right, and we're talking about percentages, December, so we're going to say December, January, February. That's 3 out of 12 months. That is a much lower percentage than what's actually happening around the year. So I would not put this at number 2. And the reason for that is because it's not something that they're constantly feeling, right? It peaks at specific season. So this is a seasonal pain point. it's not affecting the massive percentage of the year.
Makes more sense.
Which is
Let's
about
go with number 2. Yeah, that does make more sense. Just because, yeah. High handle times.
high handle times. Which one is that one?
That's the third one.
This is they're wasting time on calls without knowing the intent of the call. Why is that?
That's a damn good question.
Direct competitor to this one is this one. Okay, if we're talking about what can take this one's place, I would say multiple concurrent calls. What you have to ask yourself, figure out which one is actually worse, is which one happens more. Ask yourself that, right? Which one happens more?
The high abandonment rate.
This one happens more? What's the likelihood of several calls coming in at the same time several times during the day versus wasting time on calls that are coming in consistently without knowing the intent of the call? It's obviously this one right here, bro. So
Yeah.
because
I would
every
think
single
so.
call could be a potential issue. Whereas this one, the potential issue could only happen in a specific time period. And that specific time period doesn't always happen. It could be maybe only between 12 to 12:30. Well, what happens for the remaining 4 hours of the day? This is not happening as much. Whereas this one, it could literally be any single phone call that comes in. But
Yeah.
this one beats this one just off of frequency itself. This happens way more than this, or the likelihood of it happening is way higher than this one.
Makes more sense.
So now you have this versus
So
this,
that is number
right?
2.
Now you have wasted time on calls versus manually diagnosing and pricing. Which one do you think is worse from these two?
I think wasted time still.
It's still wasted time?
Yeah.
Why?
Just
And I'm
because
only gonna
imagine
ask
how
why,
many,
because I want to know your thinking behind it. I'm not saying I agree or
yeah,
disagree. I just want to know what
imagine
led
how
you to
many
this.
calls are coming in on a daily basis. That's wasting time.
What about this?
Compared to the pricing.
Well, this is not
question.
just pricing. This is diagnosing and pricing. So you got to take both into account.
Oh, let me
I
rethink
think
that then.
those two are tied. Let's just say,
Yeah.
let's say in a perfect world, 10 calls come in during an hour. Okay. Now, in order to decide between these two, you're gonna have to ask yourself, out of those 10 calls, how many of them are going to be diagnosis and pricing calls versus, hey, I need to hire somebody right now, which by the way happens after diagnosis and after pricing. It's almost like this is I wouldn't say main purpose, but I would say 60 to 70% of calls that are coming in are going to be about diagnosis and pricing. So out of 10 calls that come in and we don't know the intent of the calls, I think we can safely assume a majority of them are going to be, hey, something is wrong, or hey, I have this issue. What's the next thing that I have to do? And then the technician would most likely diagnose. The only calls outside of that world is going to be, what do you guys charge for blank, which is going to be where the pricing is. And then there's going to be like miscellaneous random Q&A calls like, hey, what's your address? What's the name of this technician? Any question that is outside of diagnosis and pricing. So knowing this, that 7 out of 10 calls or 6 out of 10 calls are going to still involve diagnosis and pricing in it, just because the fact of people calling them in the first place is because something is wrong. Which one are they experiencing the most?
Probably manually diagnosing and pricing then.
In that world, yes, manually diagnosing and pricing would be experienced a little bit more than them wasting time on the calls without knowing the intent, just because we can safely assume that a good majority of those calls are going to involve diagnosis and pricing in them in the first place, right?
Yes.
Now, we don't know the intent. Of course, we can have 10 calls and we have no idea what the intent is. But are we reaching if we say that the intent of any phone call has a very high likelihood of leading into diagnosis or pricing? No, because that's the core component of why people are calling there in the first place. I think it's tricky though, because the reason why I think it's tricky is you want to almost put this at 2, right? You want to put this at 2 just because we know that this actually leads to this. On paper, what looks more appealing is the fact that it could triage, not that it could diagnose. Because let's just say a phone call comes in. It could be a stupid phone call about basically nothing and wasted dead air, and the technician is going to have to waste their time. Or it could be a diagnosis and pricing. Logically, it's most likely going to involve diagnosis and pricing in it. So this is harder hitting. But on paper, this is a little bit more shiny object, right? Just because you can say you don't have to worry about knowing the intent of the phone call. You're almost gonna have a filter that lets you only receive phone calls that matter. So this
Yep.
is a tricky one.
If we're trying to rank them, I would say manually diagnosing and pricing would be 2, and then wasted time on calls would be 3. Because the majority of the time, the manual diagnosing and pricing is going to be a little bit more important, right?
But also think about it from this perspective now. If you are going to a plumbing company and you're saying, hey, our AI system is gonna do the diagnosis for you and is gonna do the pricing for you, or at least is gonna give estimates. There could be a few things that'll happen, right? Plumber can feel a little bit threatened by that because now they're gonna say, well, now they could just talk to the AI and get the diagnosis and get the pricing estimate and not even talk to me in the first place. So they can feel a little bit threatened by that. And
Yeah.
two, that would assume, and two, if we actually get somebody on board to do this, it would be under the assumption that this person trusts the AI system to accurately do the diagnosis and pricing. And if you're talking to a professional, they're not gonna say the AI can do it as good as me, right? Maybe the AI can do it. In order for me to trust AI to do this step, which a person normally has to be involved in doing, I would have to have a tremendous amount of trust in the AI. Without even knowing its capability is very hard to do that. So on paper, this is harder hitting. I think we're gonna run into issues where we have to get plumbers on board with allowing it to do this in the first place. Just because it's almost like a little bit of an ego hit to them at the same time, that has to be something they get sold on after they experience it, right? They have to have that
Yeah.
trust factor in the first place. This is pretty big. They're thinking, what if the AI does the wrong diagnosis? What if it gives them the wrong pricing? Okay. Now the AI set a specific kind of pricing or gave them an estimate, but what if that's not the right pricing that we gauge our metrics off of? Right? What if that's not how we would do it? So this could actually vary from company to company and how they diagnose and how they price. The right and kind of in like on paper, this being number two, but I think the big pain with this being number two is the trust factor. So I think I'm probably not gonna include this in that offer at first. I think this is gonna be something that we gauge people's interest on when we start talking to them, right? So
Okay.
let's put a let's put this one. Let's put a quick note right here. We're gonna say maybe, and we're gonna say gauge interest on once we talk to the businesses, right? And again, I kind of just explained my whole reasoning behind that. You're putting a lot of trust in the AI system for it to be able to do this, and you're taking that ability from a professional person who probably trusts themselves to do it way more than an AI system. We have to slowly build up that trust to allow them to be able to understand how it does the diagnosis and how it does the pricing. So let's put this at 2. I think you're right in calling this one 2. Now in our offer statement, let me go back here. All right, let's look at our checklist one more time. So we listed out the symptoms they feel. We rank them from worst to least worst, one being the worst. Next, we have to create our offer statement. It's going to be external to the world. We want to include all 4 core components, which is going to be focusing on an emotional or experience or outcome, guaranteeing something, giving them a time period by minimizing the time by providing an expectation, and giving them value upfront for free or saying they can get their money back. That's going to be our 4 things that have to be in that offer statement. Now, when you guys are creating offer statements, don't flood it with things. Notice how I mentioned 2 things here, okay? Obviously, we have a lot more symptoms with the overweight example that we can include in the emotional / experience / outcome thing. But you don't want to flood that because you only have so much room in your offer statement. We're going to probably use 2 of them, maybe 3. Maybe 3 if you can somehow cook it up together. But a lot of times, you're good to use 2 of the hardest hitting ones because that's going to give you enough room to still include other parts of the core components while delivering something that's that somebody can feel while they're reading it or while they're hearing it for the first time. So we're going to do this, okay? We're going to choose the 2 highest ones, which is in our case, lost book jobs and high handling time, meaning that there's wasted time on calls without knowing the intent. Those are going to be the 2 things that we're including in our offer statement. All right, so let's go ahead and start crafting this one. What do you want this statement to sound like here, Miles? Start me off with it.
We catch missed calls.
Always start with a guarantee. When you're doing the offer
We
statement, always
guarantee,
start with a guarantee.
we guarantee that we will catch missed calls and turn them into booked jobs.
So, okay, I'll write it out and then we're going to look at it and see how we can make it better. So, this is beautiful. I love that you're going to this in the first place. And this is not the best phrasing. The reason why is because now you are stopped when you're trying to do the 2-week thing. Let's just go ahead and say within 2 weeks. Does this make sense when you read it out loud? We guarantee we will catch missed calls and turn them into booked jobs within 2 weeks. It makes sense. But how can you make this hit harder in a way where somebody who reads it can feel or almost imagine the experience or see the outcome? Think about the word outcome. You want to be able to paint that outcome to them. And the best way to do that is not by saying what you'll do. You're literally saying the outcome itself.
We guarantee. What were you thinking? It's a damn good quote.
So here, I'll do a brand new line and I'll see if I can do it. Let's look at the outcome, right? What is the outcome that they want? They want more money back from missed calls. So we want to be able to phrase that in a way that tells them, we guarantee you will receive this back from missed calls within this many weeks, or you don't pay. Something like that. So we guarantee.
I feel like that would be different for every company though, right? Because some companies charge different than others. Say you were to say we guarantee $1,000 back within the 2 weeks of us capturing missed calls and turning them into jobs.
Yeah, that would be 100% different, because if your jobs, like, the only reason I'm saying 1,000 is because we know that they're high ticket, right? Every job that's plumbing job is roughly going to be between $500 to $1,500, and we found that through our validation. In the worst case scenario, we capture one missed call that was a missed job, which on average we could safely say is $1,000. Okay, so where I'm going with this, what I was thinking is, we guarantee $1,000 captured from missed calls within 2 weeks, right? So we guarantee $1,000 minimum. We guarantee minimum $1,000 worth of missed calls captured back into your company. We guarantee a minimum of $1,000 worth of missed calls captured back into your company within 2 weeks, or you don't pay. Slash, or you get your money back. Slash, or you get a full refund. Actually, don't pay sounds way better. So read this, right? We guarantee a minimum of $1,000 worth of missed calls captured back into your company within 2 weeks through our voice AI. Do we even want to say a minimum? We guarantee $1,000 worth. What if we don't talk? What if we don't talk about numbers? What if we talk about at least a number of missed calls? Right? That doesn't make sense, because our number one is missing jobs. So let's not talk about numbers. What if we talk about jobs? We guarantee. Let's see if this makes sense here. We guarantee 2 jobs captured back into your company from missed calls. 2 jobs captured back. Let's look at this real quick. It's kind of hard including 2 of them into the same offer statement.
Yeah.
These 2, like, they have to be tieable in a way.
And we want to start with the we guarantee.
Yeah, for sure. But so there's a few different avenues here, right? We could talk about money at first, guaranteeing a specific amount of money. We can guarantee a specific amount of jobs, lost jobs, or we can guarantee never missing a call in general. So there's 3 things, but obviously never missing a call leads to never missing a job, which leads to not missing money. So it's almost like, why not just talk about the main, like, heart of the fruit, which is missing money. And that's why originally I was saying, we guarantee 1,000 back into your company from missed calls within 2 weeks through our voice AI, or you don't pay. Like, we're saying you are going to get $1,000 back into your company, okay? Which is the number one thing that's at the heart of missed calls. And we're tying that to missed calls, but we're saying from missed calls, and we're saying within the 2 weeks, and we're saying how? Through our voice AI. So think about how many calls they get on average per day. So let's just say they get on average at least 7, okay? At least 7 calls per day. 7 times 14, that's 98 calls. 98 calls is going on here. And 2 of those calls, assuming an average of $500 minimum per job, times 2 equals 1,000. So if we capture 2 calls out of literally 100, let's just call this 100 calls just to make the numbers easier. Out of 100 calls that would happen in the 2 weeks, and those 2 happen to be jobs or things that are outside of business hours, and they're averaging $500 per job, we have now fulfilled on our promise. which is literally 2% of the amount of calls that they get. So it's hard to say if you're getting around 98 to 100 calls within those 2 weeks, assuming you're gonna get 7 calls per day, give or take. This is pretty doable. Like, I'm very confident in saying this. So I think this is solid. I think we guarantee 1,000 back into your company. We're literally giving you your very first $1,000 back in the first 2 weeks from missed calls, which are calls that you did not pick up through our voice AI, or you don't pay. Now let's see if we can add one more symptom into this. Probably not. Like, multiple calls coming in at the same time. So high abandonment rate. Wasted time on calls was number 2. Let's talk about this. We guarantee 1,000 back into your company from missed calls within 2 weeks to our voice AI, or you don't pay. And so what would go here, Miles? So what goes into this blank? This is symptom number 2. We said symptom number 2 was wasted time on calls without knowing intent and repeated questions. Time is being consumed, aka time is being wasted. So
And no more wasted time.
So wasted time is at the heart of that, right? 1,000 back into your
Yeah.
company from missed calls with no time wasted. We guarantee 1,000 back into your company from missed calls with no human time wasted within 2 weeks through our voice AI, or you don't pay. Okay, so I'm thinking about here, how do I make this better? No human time wasted. No human time wasted kind of sounds a little bit awkward. But I mean, I think we hit the nail on the head when we're saying with no time wasted. Because that is the heart of the second symptom, is the fact that they're wasting time on calls without knowing the intent. So how can we, okay, so with no human intervention, you picking up the phone, without anyone picking up the phone, without staff, our voice AI. So let's do this. Look, read this out loud. Let's see if this makes sense. We guarantee 1,000 back into your company from missed calls without staff picking up the phone through our voice AI within 2 weeks, or you don't pay. Bro, this ties the guarantee. This gives them number 1 emotional thing, which is money going back into the business from missed calls. This is emotional thing or experience number 2. Without staff picking up the phone, we're telling them how we're doing it through our voice AI, and we're telling them the time frame within 2 weeks. And here's the final nail in the coffin, or you don't pay. I think this is it, bro. This is literally it. It cannot get better than this.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So I think this is it, bro. We cannot, I don't know if we can do better than this, right? We're guaranteeing the number 1 thing that they care about, which is money back into their business from lost jobs through missing phone calls. So that's going to be number 1, right? We're guaranteeing 1,000 back into your company from missed calls. We're letting them know where they're coming from, which is number 1, without staff picking up the phone, right? This is tying into the time wasting. This is tying into people actually having to pick up in the first place through our voice AI, and within the 2 weeks.
Voice AI? Do you want to put 24/7 voice AI?
24/7 voice AI. That's even better. That is literally even better. The reason why is because the second opportunity to slide in for the very first symptom is 24/7 no missed calls and after hour staffing. Yeah, that's a great addition. We guarantee 1,000 back into your company from missed calls without staff picking up the phone through our 24/7 voice AI within 2 weeks, or you don't pay. This is it, boys and girls. Our offer statement is now done. Let's go ahead and mark it off. Let's go ahead and do that. So, okay, so we did this. This is going to be external and includes the 4 components. And now we have to do the thing that's internal to us, which is listing the things we want our voice AI system to be able to do. This is going to be its functionality. All right. So let's go ahead and look at the opportunities to slide in. And this is mainly where we're going to be able to pull the functionality from. So I'm just going to do a very, very quick note here on the side. And I'm going to say, so number 1, what do we want it to do? Pick up the phone 24/7, regardless of time. That's the number 1 thing we need it to do. That means we covered no missed calls, we covered after hour staffing, and we covered the AI system taking multiple calls simultaneously. We don't really have to work much for it to do that. It can just do that without us really baking it into it. So that's pretty much covered right here. Pick up calls at the same time. 3 is going to be clears the confusion between call types, so triaged by the AI system, and we're going to say identifies call types and handles calls accordingly. So it identifies the type of call and it handles the call accordingly. That's going to be the functionality. And clears the confusion. So we already talked about that. Asks the right questions, diagnoses, and sends it to the technician ahead of time. So we're not going to be relying on diagnosis for now. I'm just going to briefly quick mark off it. We do want the AI to ask the right questions and sends it to the technician ahead of time, because that's going to help with intake. Okay, intake means customer information capturing. So we're going to throw that here as the 4th functionality we need our AI system to do. All right, let's see. Do we have any other functionality? So outbound, we didn't really get to talk about outbound. And the reason why we didn't talk about outbound is because this right here, the fact that it happens on a seasonal basis, meaning it only affects them during that time period between December and mid-February, this is not really something that we can throw on as one of the primary points or one of the primary functionalities. What we can do is we can mention the fact that voice AI can do outbound calls in general. We can leave it open for them to interpret what that actually means in their mind, because if you're reading that statement and like in the middle of like June, July, or August, maybe it doesn't apply to you, the fact that you like wanted it to go through and call all of your old customers and try to recover some of that money back. But you might want it to call them and give them updates or notifications or something like that. So we're gonna leave this one open for them to make a decision on. I'm not gonna actually specifically mention, hey, it can call your CRM, with a big list of people and try to generate some of that information. But when we do jump on calls with them and they ask us about inbound, they're gonna say, oh, what about inbound? What can it do? We are gonna mention this. We're gonna say, oh, actually, we have it set up in some businesses where it'll call people and all they're gonna try to recover some money. That's gonna be something we mention later. So I'm still gonna add it as a functionality, but I'm not gonna specify to the fact that it can do it in December to February, their slow time. So we're gonna say leave open to the customer. Anything else you can think of functionality wise? We have picking up the phone 24/7 regardless of time, picking up multiple calls at the same time, identifying the call types, handling the call accordingly, and customer information capturing, sending that information to the technicians ahead of time, and doing outbound calls. That is literally the heart of what the voice AI
What
is going to
about
be doing.
what about just simply booking jobs into a system?
I think
Like
that
booking
so
jobs,
so so
sending it
that,
to their
that
phone?
that's part of here. That's part of intake. Part of booking a job is you're getting customer information, you're storing it, and you're throwing it to the company. And so, like it could be on a calendar, it could be on a database, it could be on a Google sheet. It doesn't matter what it is. I listed intake to cover everything, but that like booking
Okay.
is part of intake. It's capturing information and sending it to. I'm not even gonna say the text. I'm gonna say the company ahead of time, right? It's just like a parent sentence to cover that.
Yeah. For functionality, are we gonna put that in like the actual are we gonna put that in the actual offer as well? Like, is that
So
what they can see right here?
so
When
what
we
what
when we
what we're gonna do for functionality is when we actually start creating our pricing and when we start creating our website, we're gonna lean heavy on this because one, we want people to understand what our voice AI system can do, and two, we want to know what it's gonna cost us to make it do these things. And you guys are gonna see like when we jump into this, there's gonna be different levels of complexity based on the business itself. So we have to think of, we're gonna get to that point and we're gonna think through all of this stuff. But maybe imagine a customer where capturing customer information and sending it to the company ahead of time is one of the most important things they love to do because they rely heavily on their own CRM and scheduling system. Well, that now at this point you're going to have to understand what kind of system that is, because what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to integrate our voice AI into it. Well, you're going to have systems that are easily integratable and you're going to have systems that are hard to integrate into. So what we're going to do as part of this is we're going to try to figure out what are the top 5 or top 10 most used CRMs by this industry, and then we're going to see how easy it is to be able to integrate into that, which is going to help us figure out our pricing packages depending on that. And we're going to list those on the website, because what's going to happen is when people go to the website and they're already familiar or they understand the CRM because it's being used a lot in their industry, and we throw that CRM's logo and say, hey, we can easily integrate into that. Guess what? They're already sold on the idea of the integration without us trying to pitch that into them because they saw it on the website. There's still some work behind these, right? Is what I'm trying to say. The big point is we still have to figure out, okay, what are the call types? Right? What complexity are we gonna have to bake into the voice AI? Because if there's call types, so you gotta understand call types are
Yeah.
almost like a tree. Imagine this tree right here is a specific phone call. Okay, we're gonna start at the base right here. A phone call happens, and you go up, and every single branch is a specific way that the phone call can go. So think about this. Hey, what time are you guys open Monday to Friday? That's maybe gonna take this specific little branch. Oh, hey, what is it going to cost to fix this thing? It's going to take this branch. In comparison, let's just say a pizza shop. A pizza shop only has so many different branches that the call can go, because somebody has to either ask about a specific thing on the menu and how much it costs, or they're going to try to place an order and pick from a list of whatever they have on the menu and then ask about pricing. Like there's a defined number of ways that a phone call can go. Whereas maybe inside of the plumbing industry, it's not as simple as this. Maybe it's like this tree, right? So some companies, their call handling might look like this tree because there's so many different ways that they expect a phone call to go. And part of our process when we start building these systems for people is doing something called scoping, where we go and talk to them basically about the complexity of what this is, because we have to map out the call types and what happens in the calls ahead of time so we know how much to charge for our voice AI system. I'm mentioning this up front right now, like kind of ahead of time, because that answers the question for where we're going to be needing these. First, we're just identifying them because one, we're going to reference them in our website, but later we have to dig into them because it's going to help us figure out how much to price and where to even start with pricing, right? So that's basically the psychology or the science behind this. All right, so let's jump back here. What do we have to do? We listed the things we want our voice AI system to be able to do. functionality wise. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna hit all these different functionalities and we're gonna take a small dive into them to be able to understand what is it gonna basically cost for us to be able to do this and how much is it gonna take for us